the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, good morning, everyone. How is it going? Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast Practitioner Brief / Cyber News / everything you need to know in the world of cybersecurity for practitioners. Today, we've got a lot going on today's episode, so we won't waste a lot of time, getting there. We're going to get there. Big shout out to everyone tuning in to this morning's show. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for making this part of your routine. Please make sure to go and subscribe. Go check out our website, cyberhubpodcast.com. Go to your favorite podcast listening platform, download the CyberHub Podcast, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, helps boost us up in the ratings there, which we always appreciate. Before we get started on today's show, we're going to talk about Patch Tuesday and everything else going on. EU somehow still looking at Russia and all that good stuff. But before we do that, my beautiful, amazing, lovely, delicious, hot, just still steaming double espresso. Whatever you're drinking this morning, make it yours. Coffee cup, cheers. All right, let's get into what's going on here, folks, because security gang, bunch going on. Patch Tuesday yesterday, the worst day for, people who do patch management. Microsoft warns of new 0 days being exploited. The 0-day flag, the CV 2022-269-25, is described as a window LSA spoofing vulnerability that provides a path for attackers to authenticate domain controllers. An unauthenticated attacker could call a method on the LSARPAC interface and coerce the domain controller to authenticate to the attacker using an NTLM. Microsoft warned in the bare bones advisory that acknowledged the 0-day exploitation. The security update detects anonymous connection attempts in the LSARPC and disallows it according to Microsoft. So this has a CVSS score of 9.8.1, but if it's chained with other stuff, it can get to a 9.8. Print spooler bugs are still rated important. Those are still around. There's 18 serious security defects in multiple enterprise-facing products. And so Patch Tuesday is there. Also, Adobe released their patch cycle as well, warning of critical vulnerabilities in FrameMaker, document processor, the InDesign page layout tool, the character animation motion capture tool, and the Adobe Cold Fusion Passport. The EU is blaming Russia for the cyber attack on the KA-SAT satellite network that's operated by Viasat, the Five Eyes, compromising of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK, and the US, along with Ukraine and the EU. Formally pinned Russia for masterminding an attack on the SATCOM provider that had spillover effects across all of Europe. The cyber offensive, which took place 1 hour before the Kremlin invaded Ukraine on February 24th, targeted the K satellite network operated by telecommunication companies Viasat, crippling the operations of wind farms and internet users all over Central Europe. In late March, Viasat disclosed that it had shipped nearly 30,000 modems to distributors to restore service to customers whose modems were rendered unusable. They're now saying that this came from Russia. And a lot of similarities to this attack between Acid Rain and Duster to the third stage wiper module and VPN filter. All right. I still haven't seen the smoking gun. Haven't seen it. Outside of saying Russia did it. And I get it. Timing wise works for Russia. Russia could have very well done it. I'm not a Russian sympathizer by any means, but I'm also not blind to think that Ukraine's the innocent party in all of this as well. SAP patches Spring for shell vulnerability in more products. As part of its May 2022 security patch day, SAP also announced on Tuesday the release of 8 new and 4 updated security notes, including 3 that address the recent Spring for shell vulnerabilities and more products. Spring for shell is spring at springtime that just keeps giving. Track to CV 2022-229-65 and impacting the widely used Spring Java framework. The security hole could lead to remote code execution, and there's been attempts to exploit it in the wild already. After releasing the initial sets of patches for this bug in April of 2022, SAP on Tuesday announced the release of 3 security notes that address the bug in customer profitability analytics, commerce, and business one cloud. All 3 security notes are rated hot news, the highest severity rating in SAP's playbook, and are accompanied by an update to the hot new central security note for Spring4Shell that SAP initially published on April 12th. There's also a bunch of other updates, but the Spring4Shell one is the one y'all got to be paying attention to. Bitter cyberspies are targeting South Asian governments with new malware. A new activity has been observed by Bitter, an APT group focused on cyber espionage, targeting the government of Bangladesh with new malware and remote file execution capabilities. The campaign has been underway since at least August of last year and constitutes a typical example of targeting scope of Bitter, which remains unchanged since 2013. If it works, why fix it? Standard infection chain, either through an RTF or a Excel file where they enable macros, and then from there, you know how this goes. The RTF documents have all been weaponized, the payloads. There's the Trojan that goes through, and the Bangladeshi government is therefore paralyzed. All right, and finally, the Office of National Cyber Director names 3 new senior leaders. So the ONCD tapped a Microsoft executive, a CIA official, and a cyber policy experts to help unify the government's response to major cyber attacks. This is part of the bill that was passed and signed by President Biden, requiring CISO to have 72 hours to report any sort of cyber attack on your organization if you're part of critical infrastructure, and 24 hours if you paid ransomware. Kimba Walden, who's previously served as an assistant general counsel in Microsoft's digital crimes unit, will serve in the coming weeks as the principal's deputy national cyber director. The White House also announced 2 new national cyber directors for the ONCD: Neil Higgins, a former associate deputy director for digital innovation at the CIA, who will oversee national cybersecurity, while Rob Knack, a policy expert who served in the cyber directorate at the National Security Council during the Obama administration, will handle strategy and budget. So some new faces in security leadership on that end. Folks, that's it for our show today. Short, sweet, to the point. We'll get you going. We're trying to get there. Until then, have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, stay in.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.